Hello to all the listeners of Inside Matters. I'm back. This has been probably the longest hiatus since we started the podcast between recordings, and that's driven by me being a little bit under the weather and I had a bit of a croaky voice, not that smooth, silky podcast voice that you're used to hearing. As a return episode, today we're going to focus on, you guessed it, gut health. And I'm going to give 3 gut health promoting tips for you, the listener, based on personal experience and things that make up my protocol. The first one I want to talk about is incorporating polyphenol-rich foods. Polyphenols are things we've talked about on the podcast many times before. They form part of the 3 Ps: prebiotics, probiotics, and polyphenols. The 3 Ps promote gut health. Polyphenols are highly powerful antioxidants that are found in many plant-based foods, and they can significantly impact gut health by encouraging the growth of beneficial gut bacteria and the suppression of potentially harmful bacteria. There have been lots of animal model experiments where they give particular polyphenols and observe what happens directly to the microbiome, and there's also observational evidence from human studies as well. Of course, you'll have heard of us talking about the blue zones before in this podcast. That is parts of the world where people live to over 100, these centurions, and they classically have diets that are very rich in polyphenols. So I think it's fair to say that polyphenols are good. Now, what happens? Well, the polyphenols reach the colon, and that's because we don't possess the digestive apparatus upstream. And if you've listened to the previous Biome Bites episodes, you'll have heard me talking about the digestive tract more generally. These plant-based fibers reach the colon, so the large bowel, and it's at that point where they're metabolized by the gut bacteria. And there's this beautiful little relationship where we feed the gut bacteria and then they help us. It's, well, symbiosis. So the polyphenols are metabolized by gut bacteria and they become bioactive compounds that can exert various health benefits. What about key foods? So I'm going to start with one that's going to make you all very happy: dark chocolate. And if you're a fan of Brian Johnson, the man who's trying not to die, highly recommend you look him up. You know that dark chocolate is part of his routine. It contains high levels of flavonoids, type of polyphenol, which supports gut bacteria diversity. And you want a very high cacao content and a very low sugar content. Number 2, green tea, particularly nice with some sushi. Rich in catechins, spelled catechins. And these have also been shown to positively influence gut bacteria and reduce inflammation and are generally associated with a wide array of health benefits. 3, my personal favorite, blueberries. I'll also add in strawberries and raspberries. These purple, red colored fruits are packed with something called anthocyanins, anthocyanins, which are beneficial for gut health. To be honest with you, I absolutely love blueberries. They're rich in vitamin K, they're rich in magnesium. They are totally a superfood. And it's hard to remember a day in the last 5 years maybe where I've not had my blueberries in the morning. And one of my other tips is to try and stack good foods early in the day because it sets you up nicely for the day and you don't crave bad foods so much. So blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, they're packed full of them. They're beneficial for gut health and they're just beneficial for health more generally. Typically have a punnet of blueberries and a punnet of raspberries every single day, and it forms part of my gut health protocol. 4, olive oil. And to get the lowdown on olive oil, you should listen to the episode with Sony Drinkwater from Well Easy. They contain a variety of polyphenols. They are also superfoods. Just one would be oleuropein. Oleuropein. These also help nourish gut bacteria, protect against oxidative stress, are associated with cardiovascular health. How to incorporate it? Well, just use it as your primary cooking fat and put it in your salad dressing. Make sure you buy from a really reputable source. Make sure the bottle is not clear because that can damage the polyphenols and means it's not extra virgin. And for chocolate, I recommend having a little bit of dark chocolate after exercise because your GLUT transporters funnel whatever sugar's in there into your muscles rather than into your fat cells. Number 2, on the gut health tips, consider spacing out your meals. Why is that? Well, It all relates to something called the migrating motor complex, MMC. And it's a recurring pattern that occurs in the stomach and the small intestine during fasting periods between meals. Also, there's potentially some further up in the digestive tract. It's like a cleansing, cleaning wave. And it moves undigested food and bacteria through the digestive tract and prevents them from accumulating in any one part. Now, a good analogy here is to think of like a swamp or a bog. And also think about if you've ever done Duke of Edinburgh, or you've done wild camping, or you've done outdoor courses on survival, one of the key tips is to never drink from static, stagnant water. Drink from fast-moving water, the fastest moving you can possibly find. Why is that? Well, if something's static, then that allows the bacteria to proliferate and other microorganisms to proliferate and grow. Whereas if it's moving, it's much, much harder. And the same is the case within your digestive tract. You don't want stasis, because that's when bacteria can overgrow. Frequent eating, constant gorging, snacking all day, every day can potentially disrupt the MMC, and that can lead to a buildup of food particles and bacteria. And that could cause bloating, gas, digestive discomfort, so on and so forth. So the classical advice is to wait 3 or 4 hours between meals, give your digestive system time to rest and relax, and avoid snacking between meals if possible. What do? I typically have like a very large breakfast brunch, usually after training, and then I'll maybe have one snack, typically a protein bar, but not just your usual off-the-shelf protein bar. I have the Transparent Labs grass-fed protein bar, which has very little in the way of trans fats, very low sugar. All the ingredients are things that I understand and that make sense to me, rather than some industrial gloop. And I just think it's really high quality. And then I'll typically have a really big meal in the evening. So just eat twice a day. Some people eat once a day. That works for them. I think twice a day is good for me. I like to get the nutrients into my system after I've done some exercise in the morning. And I typically don't like to feel hungry when I'm kind of engaging in my downtime routine and going to bed. I do also suggest that you don't eat too close to going to bed, although that's something that's quite difficult for some people, me in particular. And that way you've digested your food before you put your head on the pillow and you're lying flat. Number 3, bit of a wild card one, but one that I think's pretty interesting, and that's engage in belly breathing, or more technically described as diaphragmatic breathing. It's a simple technique that stimulates the vagus nerve, which connects the gut to the brain. It's one of the cranial nerves. There's 12 of them. And this type of breathing encourages deep relaxation. You'll have heard people like Andrew Huberman talking about it a lot. How do you do it? Well, you sit or you lie in a comfortable position and you put one hand on your chest and one hand on your abdomen. For those that go to yoga, you'll be familiar with this mantra. And this helps you focus on breathing from the diaphragm, the muscle underneath your lungs, rather than your chest. Inhale slowly through your nose. Make sure your abdomen rises as you breathe in, and exhale slowly from your mouth, and you'll feel your abdomen fall. Your belly should be going in and out, and your chest should be staying almost static. Do this for 5 to 10 minutes daily. There's so many videos online on YouTube that are tutorials on how to do this. And why is it important? Well, I wasn't actually that aware of the beneficial gut health aspects. I was more aware of general stress. And of course, stress is connected to the gut in a big way. Stress is a common trigger for IBS, it's a common trigger for diarrhea, it's a common trigger for pain. And stress can, in particular in the chronic setting, have a negative impact on gut health. So there is some interesting research on this actually, which I'd been digging up. And there are lots of health benefits associated with diaphragmatic breathing. One of the proponents that's famous is Wim Hof. It lowers heart rate, blood pressure, decreases muscle tension, improves concentration. And for those suffering from abdominal tummy-related symptoms, it can offer specific benefits. And activating that diaphragm creates like a gentle massaging action felt by the internal organs, like the intestines and the stomach, which can reduce pain, urgency, bloating, and constipation. So pretty cool. It also, in parallel, facilitates the activation of the parasympathetic nervous system, the one that creates a relaxation response. That's the rest and digest rather than fight or flight. So it can help with specific GI-related situations like diarrhea. So if you're frequently running in those moments of panic, just do your diaphragmatic breathing. And it can also potentially help constipation as well. So there you go. Just to recap, the 3 things we talked about today were incorporating polyphenol-rich foods, consider spacing your meals out, and to engage in belly breathing. Hope you've enjoyed my return to Inside Matters. I've missed recording. I love it. It's intellectually stimulating. And the thing I love the most is all the positive feedback and messages that I get about the podcast. You guys, the listeners, are why I do this. Please write to me if you have any suggestions about content. Remember, gut health is health. Thank you very much.